Hello.
Hi, Dash.
Let me.
Are you able to connect?
Yes, there we go.
Good. Thank you. Yeah. Welcome to the Mental Health and Well-being webinar.
Hmm.
Being a FHS alumni and studying at UMass Amherst, we are proud of you. And my name is KP Sompally. I am Franklin School Committee member.
Hmm.
As you know, we are very much appreciate for your valuable time. We'll go through this mental health and well-being, which will be helpful for our community to go with. So my first question to you is, how do you personally define mental well-being in your perspective?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start with the definition from the World Health Organization. I'll go from there. Mental health is defined as a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn and work well, and contribute to their community. It has intrinsic and instrumental value and is a basic human right. I resonate that mental well-being is a basic human right as much as your physical health should be. And I believe that mental health is all about balance. Balancing work and play, balancing sadness and joy, balancing anger and relief. And that mental well-being isn't about preventing the bad emotions you might feel, and rather letting yourself feel them and then creating an environment that allows you to move on and reflect from those experiences.
Well, that's absolutely right. It's all about the balancing the daily life.
Hmm.
So my next question would be, how can we create an environment from a student perspective at home, school, or work. So, in your perspective, how can you support that mental well-being for any kind of students in your life?
Yeah, I think the big thing is communication, but with the recognition of innate power structures, right? I think having the ability to being able to confide and communicate with peers, family, friends is incredibly important to mental wellness because humans are social creatures. It's important to communicate and talk with people, and instead of letting those feelings bottle up. Along with the benefits of, just being better sociable, it provides an opportunity and like just provides a space for people to bring up concerns and just things that are troubling them and can be worked on together. But I also think that it's important that there's this added caveat that understanding power is important. A child may be less likely to communicate if they feel their parent would use their words against them, right? So an employee may be less likely to communicate if they feel their boss might fire them or punish them for it. A student may be less likely to communicate if they feel a teacher would punish them or if peers or friends may ridicule them for it. And so I think it's important if you hold some position of power in any of these environments. It's important to establish that communicative culture. I think it's on you holding that power and to make sure that there's a culture of rehabilitation and not reprehension. And in environments that are more equal, like, maybe friendships or romantic relationships, it's important to make sure that everyone is being heard out and listened to and that no one's voice is being drowned out.
Well, it's a well explained answer. So, because of the time constraints, I'll go by question
Mhm.
within a given time. So, in your perspective, like what are the daily practices that can help to improve any individual mental health?
Yeah, I think a big daily practice is self-reflection, daily self-reflection. I think often people can go the whole day without giving themselves a moment to actually reflect on the things they've done throughout the day. And there's just a thing that people don't sit alone with their thoughts anymore, and it's very harmful, and it's done by design. Um, because a lot of things in our lives like social media, the societies wants us to be unthinking. And I urge everyone to take a couple minutes, maybe after work or school, maybe before you go to bed. That's my personal go-to. And just think about the things you've done, even if it's just for like 5 minutes, the ways that makes you feel, the way it made other people feel. And we can't be mentally healthy if we never think about it, right? So you have to give yourself the time to do that.
Yes, definitely, indeed, indeed. From the Franklin High School, you successfully graduated and they were about to
Mhm.
graduate out of UMass Amherst.
Yeah.
How can you suggest someone can recognize the signs of stress and anxiety or burnout before it escalates to their daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I continue with this one, I just want to preface, I'm not an expert. I'm just an undergraduate, senior in college, but I do have a lot to say. I urge anyone watching to like do their own research, look at maybe some of the scientific literature. But I think my big thing is to look at the bigger picture, right?
Mhm.
Just because a person has felt sad once doesn't mean they're depressed, right? But you have to look at patterns of behaviors and what cause those behaviors, right? Like for me personally, a marker that I can use is I see my mental health declining is if I become more irritable. And irritable for just like a lot of stupid things, to be honest where it's just not things I would normally be irritated by. But I'm just feeling that way because of a lot of other stresses. And just recognizing the ways you're changing that might be negative due to certain stress is an important sign to understand what's going on in your own mind.
Yes. How can the social media be used positively to promote mental well-being in your perspective?
I think the big thing with social media is that it's a double-edged sword, right? Or it's a very useful tool that can be used to spread awareness, but also it is one of the biggest things that is contributing to the decline of mental health in adolescents nowadays, where people aren't taught, all sorts of people, not just kids, kids, teenagers, adults haven't been taught to engage with it in a healthy manner because the way it's designed it wants you to engage with it in an unhealthy way that makes you give a lot of time and emotional energy to social media. So I think just taking a step back and realizing that not everything you see online is important or true, um, you know, especially like when you're growing up, it can be a thing of self-image where you see a lot of what people are posting. They're posting the best moments of their life, and you are comparing them to the worst moments of your life, and you shouldn't be doing that. It's just not a fair comparison. And making sure the time you spend on it is healthy, right? You're not spending too much time, especially if you're doing something social, that your phone isn't distracting you. And social media can be used as a really great tool to keep in contact with people once you're not in person anymore. And in that way, it's really great. It can be a great way to create communities. And just making sure that they stay positive and don't become negative is very important.
Yes, too many connections also not good in the daily life, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, what role from the community perspective, like the community connection plays any role in maintaining the mental health for any kind of student?
Yeah, I think community plays the biggest role in terms of mental health, right? Um, Even if you look at like people with like mental disabilities, right? The way they are rehabilitated from like certain episodes or like certain trauma, it's the way it's supposed to be done. It's not holding people up in like psych wards for long periods of time, maybe a week or two, right? But then getting them back into their communities, having them interact with the people they love, with the people around them is the most important thing, right? Because humans are social creatures. It is natural for us to seek community. It's one of our biggest strengths, right? But community building is difficult, and it should be. And I think a thing I like to keep in mind is that the price of community is inconvenience. Um, you know, especially a lot of people, may like start to think uh that a lot of things like there may be a narcissistic sense of, everything I do should be for myself, and that's not necessarily the case. It can't be all about you. You have to make some sacrifices to keep the people in your life, and to become closer with the people of your life. And you have to trust that they'll do the same for you, right? Like there's times at school where, I'll go to dinners with my friends, or I'll stay up a couple hours later than I want, uh, just because maybe I don't want to do it necessarily, but it's the price of keeping that connection alive, growing that connection, and making that community stay alive. And they do the same for me too, right? And I think you have to inconvenience yourself more so that you can build a community that you want to be a part of.
Yeah. So the next question could be like, what do you think is the biggest barrier preventing people from seeking help, especially at your age?
I think I think stigma is a very big thing. I think uh, uh, um, us and a lot of the people in our lives have been taught, either unintentionally or intentionally, that there are these certain things, that there's these certain beliefs about people who are feeling mentally ill, that maybe that they're crazy or that they're violent, or that they're weak, right? Or that they're rare. And a lot of these things are not true, right? Uh, like mental health conditions, for example, are not rare. If you look at some statistics from the Advanced Psychiatry Associates, about 17 million adults in the United States have major depressive disorder. Each year, approximately 40 million people in the United States struggle with depression. Over 2 million adults live with obsessive compulsive disorder, and about 15 million adults have PTSD in a given year. And if you look at like the stigma that people with mental illnesses are more violent, it's really a sensationalized belief. And the opposite is more true, that people with mental illness are 2.5 times more likely to be the victims of violence when compared to other members of society. And these stigmas can be very harmful. It can prevent people from, going out and seeking help because they don't want to come to the terms that they may be feeling down, right? And it's okay to feel down. And society has kind of made it feel that way. And it takes a lot of courage to step past that barrier and, reach out to people and ask for help, but you're never going to actually move past it if you don't reach out and ask for help.
Yes, that's correct. Um, like, being a student at our nation's one of the top institute at UMass Amherst, how do you manage yourself as a, your mental health being to be going as usual with no obstructions?
I think the way I personally manage my mental health, it's not perfect, but I'm still working on it, and that's okay. And I think the big thing I mentioned earlier is self-reflection. I give myself time, before I go to bed, maybe I take a walk, right? Just to think about the things that have happened in my life. I think another important thing is, balance between being productive, going to classes, doing work, but also giving time to your passions, right? And maybe not just socially, right? Taking alone time to like, maybe I'll take a couple hours and I'll like draw on my iPad, or I'll like listen to music. Um, I plan and run D&D sessions. I play video games, right? Just making sure you give time to the things that make you happy is very important. Um, I also, keep thoughts in a journal. It's a good bookmark for the emotions you felt. It's a good way to, actually process what you're feeling because you can't write as fast as you think. So it slows your mind down a bit and gives yourself a chance to think about what's going on. And I think just also opening up more to your friends and your peers. Um, I have a lot of like deep and difficult conversations with my friends, and we've become better friends for it. So not shying away from those is important.
Yes, yes. And the final question could be like how do you, the artificial intelligence is, is been taking over the technology, and how can any student can shift from mental illness awareness to mental illness practice? How can we, any individual can shift over? Is there any advices you can give on?
Yeah, I think this is just such a big thing, not just for mental health, just a lot of societal issues like maybe race or like acceptance of different religion, creed, right? It's we have to do more than just saying we care. Because awareness is important. It's important to say that these things exist. But doing more than just saying you care is important because actions speak louder than words. You have to open yourself up more. You have to be more vulnerable, right? You have to communicate more in real ways with the people around you. You have to go out into your community and spread positivity, right? Like I think a realization I've had recently is like it's my senior year, right? And in college, and this will be like one of my last times like being in school this way. And I think a big realization for me is that if I just sit around and expect and hope that people will come out and reach to me, that won't happen. But if I go out and I'm more positive and I reach out to other people more, then something could happen. Maybe sometimes it doesn't work out, but other times it will. And it'll be because I went out and did it. So putting your ideas into action is very important. And I think in terms of AI, uh I think a big thing I'll say on that, I've heard like unfortunately people saying that they use like ChatGPT as a therapist or something, or like they'll talk to it. And my big thing is do not use AI as a therapist. They are designed to affirm everything you say. They're designed to agree with you. And that's not how real people work. Real people will disagree with some things you say. They'll give you some pushback, and that's important. Everyone needs some pushback. Um, it's important that you don't have a yes man to say yes to everything. In fact, a lot of studies are starting to show that increased AI usage leads to cognitive atrophy, decline in the brain function. That also may lead to, decline in mental health because you're relying on this tool or you're relying on this thing way too much. So just important to, you know, make sure you are not using that AI a lot, especially in terms of mental health, because it's not a helpful tool. In fact, it's better to just talk to the people around you, your friends, your family, even a real therapist, right? Um, yeah. And I think the big thing is just like either do what you're doing with more difficulty or don't use the AI or don't do the thing at all. Just don't use the AI.
Well, and thank you so much for your valuable time,
Thank
and
you.
wish you all the best for your future MD path. Thank you so
Yes, thank
much.
you.
See you next time.
Yeah, see you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.